Go ahead.
Oh, it's your boy Bama Bones. What's up,
This was a mistake. I'm going to
dog?
mute you right
Don't include that.
now.
It's gonna
Oh,
get
that
put
is
in it.
so completely included. Okay, so as a brief explanation first, that I feel like we kind of have to get into. At the time of recording, most of the research has been done all the way through 2, which is the second EP. Um, Even though I have listened to probably a solid 500 hours of Sleep Token, this entire lore breakdown is going to be just focused on only the knowledge you get from the songs, from Thread the Needle, and so forth. There's no assumed knowledge or things that make sense later from different tracks being taken even into consideration. So some of this may be a little ambiguous, wrapped in ambiguity, whatever that word in present tense means.
And you've started the recording, haven't you?
Yes, we've been recording for 12 minutes. But one reason why it's good for you here is because, especially when you get talking about spiritual powers, which is something that's going to be extremely prevalent throughout the entire music and different world religions, it's important to know that this is going to be taken entirely through a Christian standpoint. And with you being significantly more educated than I am, that's going to be a really nice addition.
Yeah, I kind of have a whole commentary thing and all these books over here.
You think you have the coolest bookshelf? No, also wrong way. Yeah, oh, that's just darkness too. But to start in 1, it's the real bullet points to know before we get into it is it's all going to be taken through a Christian worldview, and we're going to lean a lot more into the religious side of it, even than a lot of other lore breakdowns of the band. And it's also one last thing is this is a completely what I like to think of as unique depiction of what exactly the meaning is. Art is completely subjective. This is only what it means to me, and most times to Corey as well. If you listen to music and find something completely different, that's fine. This will not be correct or wrong until the songwriters themselves come out and claim it as yes or no. With that being said,
do not do this with the Bible. Do not do this with the Bible. That's bad. That's called eisegesis. Don't do that. Read the Bible in context.
Got a point.
Okay,
but
had to get that off the chest.
Back to the band. But the first ever bit of music released under the Sleep Token name, as far as I know, is 1. It was an EP. It came out in 2016. And the first song on it is Thread the Needle. Now, with the idea of this being the only knowledge going into, the entire song is... it's almost strange to listen to, just because even Sleep Token as a band, with this first addition to their discography, it's very clear they haven't exactly found the tone they want to have yet. The only things you know about the band going into it is the lead singer calls himself Vessel. Now, arguably, this is the most important bit of lore throughout the entire pretty much book that is the Sleep Token writing. Bury me inside this labyrinth bed. We can feel that time is dilated. We can spend the night in fascination. You can thread the needle time and time again. So the idea of this first section is that Vessel is supposed to be just that, a vessel. And it's not exactly clear yet what exactly he's a vessel of, but in this instance, it's going to be a collection of memories from someone's lifetime. And in this exact instance, he is approached by a deity or something with unnatural powers. And it comes to him and it offers him something he's completely unfamiliar with, and that would be sleep. Or at least some sort of resemblance of rest. With the first line being, bury me inside this labyrinth bed. The labyrinth bed is supposed to be a metaphor for his mind. Basically, the fact that it's jaded and pretty much all over the place, and there's not really a clear and concise path to his own memories. And if you were going to get buried inside something, you'd be very immersed. So basically, he's saying, let me dream. So next thing is mentioned is that we can feel that time is dilated, which will push towards the deity having the power to not necessarily manipulate time, but going along with the theory of relativity, the fact that he can manipulate how you experience it, which can be a couple things, but in this instance, I believe it's the fact that he can pretty much trap him inside a dream. So again, pushes towards the idea that he just has some sort of power. Next bit of the verse is technically
Freddy Krueger's type stuff there.
until we can actually get him injured in the dream, not necessarily. But it is kind of interesting that they already resort to this kind of thing, because there's so many religions in the world that'll actually they take dreams being something just so like beyond important, but just like I mean they take those things have power.
I mean, in a sense, dreams, even in Christianity, I mean, I don't know how about now or not, but I mean, like, you look in Scripture, I mean, Genesis through Revelation, which Revelation is nothing but a dream. We can see how God speaks people through dreams. Now, does he still do that? Probably. But, dreams are very important. And just dreams themselves are just kind of weird. Like, the psychology, I don't even know, man. I mean, you even look in Genesis. Let me look here. I think it's in 12-ish. Yeah, he talks to Abraham here about the covenant he's going to have, which will make a great nation. You also have dreams like you had with Joseph at the time of Jesus' birth. You got a lot going on there with dreams. But I try not to put too much overemphasis on there, because I don't want people to think, oh, I had a dream about a dog, that means I'm getting a puppy for Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, that's just me rambling.
Well, the most important thing you gather from that is that dreams do carry prevalence and power. So, but one underlying bit of tone that goes across these first couple verses is the idea of temptation. Because even in, let's see, scroll back up here to the first verse. The whole idea is that it's an offering. He says, I can do this. And the way you figure that out is in the third verse. It reads, you turn the lights down, come on and find out. You turn the lights down, come on and find out. And in that specific section, it's the deity talking to Vessel, saying, I can do this. You just have to come on. Come on and find out. Find out what I can do for you. The next section is something to confide in, something to erase. Just look at where we're lying, an invisible space. So the idea of this invisible space is further trying to get Vessel to let the deity into his mind and trying to convince him that not necessarily any harm can come from it just because it's an invisible space. It's not going anywhere. It's your own mind. So, and one of the things, and again, he repeats the section, you turn the lights down, come on and find out. You turn the lights down, come on and find out. So the whole point of this first song is really a building block to what the entire first EP is going to be, and that's introducing you to both the characters and the dynamics at play. Because something like with the language and again the tone that's used, it doesn't really look like whatever deity has Vessel's best interest at heart. He wants to be let into Vessel's mind. Now, why
just
exactly,
a lot of stuff in this little song. It's just crazy how much they can just compact so much in here.
It is interesting.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
But one thing you'll learn very quickly is Vessel is a master at writing.
I just wonder what this whole deity thing's all about. Like, I've listened to all their new stuff. I think Take Me Back to Eden is like one of my favorite songs they've done. So like even all this backstory, I don't know, but I mean, like, I know, and I think we all know that Sleep Token, this whole story is not necessarily a Christian story, because I know that God doesn't send deities out because, well, he's the only deity there is. As a monotheistic Trinitarian myself, I do believe that there's only one God in the form of a Trinity. So I don't even know what this is. This is pretty interesting.
But the idea of a deity is not necessarily a all-knowing being, necessarily a god, but a being of unnatural power.
Right. Yeah. I guess there's that as well. That deity does not always equal I guess a god in a sense.
It's not necessarily an all-encompassing
But
term. The
it's
only thing, at least in this instance, the only thing deity is supposed to mean is a being of unnatural power.
yeah,
Now, if we go
supernatural.
further in, and if he may earn the label of, deity, and the idea that he might have the power of a god, but in this instance, just we're leveling him a deity to not necessarily level him something that we don't know. I'm trying my best not to assume anything. So, but Fields of
Yeah,
Elation. It was what were you saying?
I'm saying yeah. I mean, I'm not because like I said, the most of the Sleep Token stuff I've listened to, it's just like the new stuff, which I mean, and even the lyrics I listen to that for. It's just the music itself, Vessel's vocals, and let's just be honest, best drummer in the world.
Yeah, two
I mean,
is
that's
is
mainly
by
why I
far the
listen.
best drummer I've ever heard, and I will borderline die on that hill.
Yeah, I mean, like, and don't get me wrong, I think Dragon Force drummer's absolutely insane, but just in a different way. But I mean, I don't know, like, two is just insane.
He is. I mean, I've never seen anyone play drums like him, and it is just a marvel to look at. But
It's like an art.
it really is, and like the size of his kit alone is spectacular. All right. Anyway,
But
but Fields of
it's just
Elation,
beautiful.
being the second song on the first EP, this one has a lot more depth to it, and it really expands really what we know of both the characters, despite having less of a word count. So the first verse reads, "The daylight recedes in unison. This room buries the hours like death in motion. Nobody else can pull me out. The fields of elation, quiet and lonely."
The daylight recedes and you listen. This room buries the eyes like death in motion. Nobody else can pull me out. The fields of elation, quiet and lonely.
So the first thing I want to point out is the definition of the word loamy, spelled Loamy. Now, I've actually never heard this word before, but it's used to describe farmland that is fertile. That is basically its only use. At the very least, I could not find any other uses for that word other than just to mean something, especially farmland, is fertile. Anyway, but the first
Right,
line,
and it
the
is an
daylight
adjective
recedes
as
in
well.
unison, basically is to point back to the fact that Vessel is still in a dream with the deity. This room buries the hours like death is referring back to that invisible space that was mentioned in the last song, and the fact that the idea of buries the hours is pointing back to the deity's power of time dilation. Or and he even mentions the fact it's not like time is frozen because it is still in motion. And saying nobody else can pull me out is pointing back to the deity, saying nobody else can pull me out of the dream that we're in, saying that he can be stuck there. Dang. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, looking at that word loamy, loamy. How do you say that?
Literally just like almost like foam, but loamy.
Loamy. So yeah, that's an adjective. So it's just the hermeneutics nerd coming out of me. So it's describing the field. So I mean, I'm trying. I don't think he's really talking about a field. Like I said, everything here is basically symbolism.
Pretty much, yeah. And we'll explain. And in this instance, the phrase the fields of elation, quiet and loamy. Second thing elation means is great happiness, or just
Exhilaration.
it really just that great happiness. So in this instance, where you have nobody else can pull me out, the fields of elation, quiet and loamy is supposed to be a reference to his dreams. The fact that now his dreams
So-
are the only place he can feel happy. And the fact he's referencing them as loamy means that the happiness is expanding. Like, it's not just something that's one and done, that with the assistance of, what's his face? The deity, he is now getting more good memories and more good dreams from the deity's influence. Now, the next verse is where the probably second most important bit of lore comes in, and it reads, "Your name is a sin I breathe like oxygen, caught in the careless arms of lust again."
Your name is a sin I breathe like oxygen, caught in the careless arms of lust again.
So this points towards a woman, or at the very least what we'll assume. And the second thing is it's a profession of love, kind of, because one thing that's really going to be important to the understanding what the lyrics mean is the tone. Now, with you having a significant other in your life, whenever you talk about her, you would never necessarily say her sin or her name is a sin. You would never refer to her or someone you love or someone you care about in a positive way in such a, I mean, just to say the mere thought of them is bad.
Absolutely not.
So
Love her to death.
in this instance,
But
what's up?
I do want to kind of poke the bear a little bit. This is something me and my pastor have talked about. We were looking
for
at that. It was in Matthew somewhere. Where Jesus talks about lust, and a lot of people take that out of context and they jump to conclusion talking about sexual immorality. However, lust does not always mean that. Could it be talking about something else? Like a lust of money is bad. It doesn't mean a person is having sexual feelings for money, but they're having a want for money. So could this lust mean maybe something else? Just kind of poking the beast here. I don't know.
It's a good question. What do you think it would be?
Hadn't done enough research to find out, man. Yeah. But
So I'll tell
And
you why
I-
I think it's. I'll tell you why I think it's a.
and
woman
I'm
so
trying
far.
not to put my I'm trying not to put my bias out there because we obviously know that's what it is looking at the future songs, but I'm trying not to think about the future songs right now.
That's the hard part. Just because,
Yeah.
like, even if you look at the further things, like to the point, I could even tell you the name of that person. So the only issue is that we can't think of anything else. But at the moment, the reason why, even so far, I'm pretty confident it's a woman, is because, or at the very least, a love interest. Clean this back up. Is the next section is "Nobody Can Pull Me Out," the Fields of Elation, Quiet and Low Me.
Nobody else can pull me out. The fields of elation, quiet, lonely.
That phrase is going to be a double entendre throughout this whole thing. Because when you pair it with
Absolutely.
"Your name is a sin I breathe like oxygen, caught in the careless arms of lust again, nobody can pull me out the fields of elation." So the fields of elation is where his happiness is. So he's looking at her and saying, "You are my happiness." Now, I guess technically you could think of, I guess with what you said, we'll refer to it as basically, I don't know, the center of his world. Whatever the center of his world is where his happiness lies. And to refer to it as Lomi means there is more of it there than he I guess realizes. We'll just leave it at that. And the idea of me thinking it's a woman is the fact, in order to have something be the real center of your universe would mean you have to have history with it. So, in the idea that it is a woman,
Absolutely.
it's something that he is so deeply connected to, and he has so much history with, that even with the deity in his mind, this is still what he thinks about. Not necessarily what it's doing, but her. Over and over again. And with the negative feeling or the negative tone in the song currently, it really looks like a past or even current lover that something is going wrong with. just because it's almost as if he doesn't necessarily want to be with her, but he's drawn to her by nature or by just repetitive action. And if it is a woman, there is a major problem, because the first time he thinks of her, or even the first time he mentions her, would be with such a negative tone. So what is the issue with the relationship, or at the very least, in the idea you brought up, his relationship with whatever the center of his world is? So something
complicated
happened along his history to cause just some kind of divide.
Right. Now, I will say there's one thing in here that's, and I'm just trying to figure this out. So, the fields of elation, quiet and loamy. So, I don't know, I might be thinking into this too much. So, it's happiness, quiet, and loamy. So, it's quiet and fertile, I guess would be it. Just trying to make sure I'm understanding this.
So I think quiet would also, in this instance, be an adjective, and also a nest egg for the future. Because to say that, I wouldn't necessarily know what it would be like if it was money. I don't really know what quiet would mean, but in the idea it's a woman, actually really has a very dark undertone. Because another thing,
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's a woman as well. I mean, pretty obvious, I think.
but
Playing devil's advocate here and there.
another thing that's really oh man, I just threw my train of thought to the side. Gone. It's gone. Oh well.
There it is. Found it.
There it is. Got it. Actually, really. So another
Ready
thing that's
to catch.
that's really prevalent in the tone is almost a sense of guilt, because to bring up this kind of thing, like your name is a sin, like oxygen caught in the careless arms of lust again. It feels like it's not the first time. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but he just can't stop it. So over and over again, this is clearly a giant issue. And the final nail in the coffin for it being a woman is the outro. The phrase, "I'm losing my faith in our lives apart," is repeated 4 times.
Losing my faith in our lives apart. I'm losing my faith in our lives apart. I'm losing my faith in our lives
So this line, what I'm pretty confident it means is he and this woman have been separated. He thought in the instance it was going to be a good thing, but it's turned out to not only be a bad thing, but something that's critically terrible.
Yeah, and kind of speaking on that whole thing, like he knows it's wrong and he yet chooses to do it. Just kind of off topic here. I mean, Romans 7 really comes to me a little bit because I mean, Paul's writing to the Roman church, and then he's pretty formal until he gets to Romans 7, and it's like he kind of just goes off. Let's see where it starts. Let me find it. I'm trying not to pull things out of context. Yeah, just kind of jumping into verse 15, he says, "For I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Now, if I do what I do not want, I agree with the law, that is good." And he talks about the law, of course, before that. Let's see, verse 17. "So now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells within me. I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but I do not have the ability to carry it out. For I do not do good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing." Pretty much this whole thing, it's kind of like this rant. He's like, I know what I'm doing is wrong. I don't like it. Why am I doing it? And I feel like this is kind of, I'm trying not to eisegete this here at all, but it's kind of what this guy's going through right here as well. He's wondering, I like it, but I don't like it. I know it's a problem. that makes any sense at all, James.
It does, and I think that's actually pretty accurate to what's going on, and then we'll see in the next bit of story. But yeah, I really do like that actually. But that is
Not saying that Vessel's a Christian. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I can't speak for him.
I
It
highly
don't
doubt
seem
he
like
is.
it. But...
With a little,
Yeah.
I say with the knowledge I have from the future tracks, and at least what I've broken down so far, I truthfully don't think so. But you never know.
I'm talking about the
surprising things
character,
happen.
not necessarily the lead singer. The lead singer's playing here. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
The guy in the story.
So, but I will say I am pretty confident that Vessel is extremely educated when it comes to both religion and music. So I
Absolutely.
Really
Okay,
thoroughly enjoy
Vessel,
that.
the singer, yes.
I mean, here we go. Originally, when I first heard it, it was my least favorite track off of one, and now it is.
And
quickly
then
becoming
you
my
heard
favorite.
I Want to Dance with Somebody.
It's not off one. That's on Sundowning. It's still, that's 2 whole albums away from here. Okay, so
Not that bad.
when the bow breaks takes place still in Vessel's subconscious, but not necessarily in a dream. But the deity is trying to break down Vessel to his core by bringing up intense negative emotions to make him suffer, so that he can come back in and build Vessel a more reliance upon him through the promise of peace and euphoria that he's been explaining throughout the first track. Now, what are the memories that the deity is bringing up? Question. So, I believe it's actually a murder. The reason why is in a series of the tone of pretty much both songs, and this one is still the same, there is still such an undertone of guilt, at the bare minimum of sadness. And in my research of these things, I assumed that nothing was left to chance. So I have watched all the videos and all the visualizers for all the tracks so far, just in preparation for this. And let's just say that is very important. I'll throw up a clip of the videos when they become important. But for now, trying to avoid copyright, we will just
I don't
leave-
blame you.
So yeah, we'll probably leave that be. So
Uh-oh.
in the last song, the guilt was very prevalent, and it was surrounded by a relationship, and it kind of seemed like the guilt was around the lust. So was it the lust itself that was causing the guilt, or was it maybe the fact that all that was left was lust, and there was just nothing anymore? So when the bow breaks opens up with the first verse, "You could stay alive. Just tell me that you notice, even in the dark, the way I left you breathing."
You can stay alive. Just tell me that you notice, even in the dark, the way I left you breathing.
The first verse sounds almost like a desperate plea for understanding, as if Vessel is begging the woman to understand his mind and his emotions, but for some reason either seems unwilling or unable to express it in a way that she can understand. In the idea of leaving nothing for chance, the title itself is an extreme is even then a semblance of tragedy. When the bow breaks is a line taken from the nursery rhyme Rockabye Baby, which was a Mother Goose poem. Rockabye Baby reads, "Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all." So in this
How are we
instance,
singing this to our kids? That's
yeah,
messed up.
yeah, it's kind of strange. A lot of the Mother Goose poems basically were scare your kids into believing not at the world's
Just
evil and
Burning, like, London Bridge, burning down a whole village, and just dropping a baby out of a tree. I mean, why are moms singing this to their babies? It don't make sense. Are you even listening to the lyrics?
Yeah, not exactly sure
That's
myself.
why all the kids are so messed up these days.
Well, it's kind of funny is I've actually never heard the word bow outside of these two songs. And what the word means is it literally describes the trunk of a tree. Or is, subtle foreshadowing, the strongest part of the tree. Now, no. In this instance, I believe that the tree is a metaphor for their relationship, and the baby is supposed to represent their unity. But when the foundation of the tree, or the bough, breaks, everything, including their unity, falls, or in this instance, dies. Now, to bring up dies, the lines, sometimes when we touch, everything we love resets. It's only just enough, even when we run with death.
Sometimes when we touch, everything we love resets. It's only just enough, even when we run with death.
So the line, sometimes when we touch, everything we love resets, means occasionally they sleep together. I don't know how often this was in their relationship, but even with using the last song as my evidence here, it is extremely out there. Sex was a huge part of their
Gross.
entire lives.
Ew.
Yeah, it's
Wait
it's
till
pretty
marriage.
much the pinnacle of what they were operating on. And
See, guys,
Is
doing
what
that before marriage makes you sad. Don't do that.
I feel like this is.
You want this to happen to you? Is this what? I don't think you want all this happening to you. Don't do it.
I feel like this is the one clip you're gonna show to your youth group. Okay. Anyway, but what that line means is they sleep together, and a moment of love reignites that is just a spark, and it fades. The lines, "It's only just enough, even when we run with death," further explain that it's a temporary fix. Because the idea is that when the baby falls out of the tree, it dies. When, they have their run with death, it's the death of their relationship. So, it's a temporary fix. They get close to a breaking point, which is the run with death. And sex only really exacerbates the problem with just, a band-aid over a bullet wound. It only gets worse without either of them really putting any effort into fixing the problem. But the thing of the note is their relationship is extremely abusive on both sides. Vessel loves her with every fiber of his being, and even then, he describes the end of his relationship as being released. Because the second verse it reads, "We could be released, flowing over sorrow days. We could stay suspended, even when the bough breaks."
We can be released, flowing over sorrow days. We can stay suspended, even when the bough breaks.
Deeper into the song, he further tries to talk to her, but is met with resistance. And their relationship is at a breaking point, and it finally boils over. The very final lines of the song, it reads, "Everything we touch turns water into blood. You try to look away from me, even when the bough breaks. You don't really love me, you just hate to be alone." It repeats, "You hate to be alone," and then the whole thing repeats, looks like 3 or 4. Times. But one thing that's important to note is in the song, the phrase "don't lie to me" is said 30 or 40 times while the very final chorus is being sung, which is pretty much not necessarily a metaphor, but it was trying to explain the fact that this is the reminder of their final conversation. Like, this is the fight that broke the camel's back, per se. And he explains, everything we touch turns water into blood. You try to look away from me even when the bow breaks. You don't really love, you just hate to be alone. He tells her, you never love me, you just hate to be by yourself. And she'll try to defend herself, but tells her over and over again, don't lie to me. Just stop lying to me. And in the stories, the baby falls from the tree. In a moment of rage, he kills her. Or at the very least, he beats her to a point that she's alive when he leaves her, but he ends up dying, which would be calling back to the very first line of this, or the very first verse of the song, saying, you could stay alive, just tell me that you notice. Notice being the problems in their relationship or his feelings. Even in the dark, the way I left you breathing was after their final confrontation.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely somebody's getting their butt whooped here to a point to where somebody's either dead or going to die.
So
Of
all we
course
know
we can
is
see-
that it wasn't good. Now, this instance,
Yeah, bad things happened.
yeah, it's a big whoopsie daisy. So, anyway, that's where they pretty much leave us at the end of 1. Now, something else.
Well, hold on.
That's extremely important
Um,
is to really look at it as an overview. The fact that all this started because the deity was able to identify a broken person. Someone has been through a lot of evil in their life, and most importantly, was aware of it. All he's doing is tempting him with the idea that all your memories could go away. I can wash it all away. It even alludes to that further is the cover art for this whole album. Because, I'll throw a picture of it up on screen, it's an apple.
Oh, look at that.
Is what now?
I think I just made a stupid joke.
But it's an apple being stuck with a bunch of needles. Now, the idea of the apple in this instance actually refers back to Adam and Eve in the Bible, being the first temptation was when the snake tempted Eve to take a bite of the fruit to gain knowledge. In this instance, it's the deity tempting Vessel to take a bite of the fruit for peace. So it still shows some of that same power at play, but what the rest of these 2 songs are doing is trying to flesh out why exactly is the deity coming after Vessel specifically. What mistakes were made.
Yeah, and look at when the bow breaks. It says everything we touch turns water into blood. That's I bet that's a reference back to Exodus, the first plague that God brings upon the Egyptians and Pharaoh was turning the water into blood. So he's really comparing this relationship to a plague.
And not only that, in that instance, when water turns to blood, it becomes useless. It becomes toxic even. So whenever they try to fix their problems, all it does is hurt each other even more. It drives further wedges in their entire relationship. And really, that goes both ways. I mentioned earlier it was abusive. It's not everything I touch. It's not everything you touch. It's everything we touch.
We touch.
It's the idea that they both recognize the fact that there is issues, and they both understand they need to fix it, but neither of them can just because their relationship is either built on such unsolid foundations, or they're just so not right for each other. So, anyway, that is the entire first real look into 1.
Whoa, that was cool. It just really goes to show. I mean, just these songs, they're not really that long. These, just kind of going back through them. Yeah, they're all pretty short songs, and they just pack so much in just so little.
Oh yeah, and it's really impressive, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the music videos, I was looking at, I think it was that last one we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't it like a 7-minute long video?
Yeah, the
Song.
song is 7 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of that is your instrumental and a lot of repeating words. But, if the song was just as long as it would appear to be on the screen just by looking at the lyrics along, I mean, it wouldn't be much of a song. It's more of a little ditty at that point. Nobody
the
likes
poetry
ditties
in
unless
itself
they're writing a
is-
commercial.
Yeah, I say the poetry is genius. I'll leave it at that. And
Absolutely.
I've been doing a lot of work on this. I had a little bit mixed up. The videos come more prevalent here on out, especially once you get into 2. But a lot more history starts to come into this once we actually start working in a lot more depth when it comes to the writing. But that will be saved for another day. Anyway, I'll ask, what are any final thoughts on 1?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I mean, there's not a lot of meat here in a sense, but it's observations, just setting the stage for what's going to happen. It always starts, most of the time it never starts off with a bang. It's just how this music is really beautiful. But, this the story, it starts off slow. You got to get introduced to different people. It'll pick up later. That's just how it is.
Background is one of the most important things you can have in a story.
And in the Bible, don't read your Bible without learning the context. I'm telling you, it will change the way you read your Bible.
Yeah. All right. Well, we gotta get together again. I gotta
We
finish
do.
2. I only have Calcutta done so far. I don't even know if I have
Oh,
Calcutta
wow.
completely done. I mean, look at this. Hold
I
on.
was listening to that one earlier.
Look. So this is
Can't see,
is
but
everything I
I can
have.
see enough.
for 1. That was all of 1. That much is just Calcutta. So
You're still
Alright.
rolling. Are you still rolling the video? Like, will this be on the video right here?
maybe I'll see how it looks in editing.